So, I've been asked a lot recently on my live streams, why don't I compete in competitive Pokemon? And that's a very loaded question, but I wanted to really break it down to you because I feel like a lot of people that don't really understand the competitive scene may not know what I'm talking about. So, it's gotten a lot easier in recent generations, but making a competitive Pokemon team like on the game is incredibly time consuming and very tedious, and I really don't enjoy it at all. Especially, like, there's so many things you have to get right. You have to find their moves. You have to get their moves all right. You have to, EV train them. You have to get them with the certain IVs that you want. And that can get really complicated, especially if you want something with a zero IV. Like if you're using something in Trick Room, like in a Moongus, you want it to be as slow as possible. So you want to zero out its EV, and you got to find one with a zero IV in its speed. Like that's really fucking hard and very time consuming. Because if you guys didn't know, in the most recent World Championships this year in Japan, they eliminated and DQ'd everyone that used hacked in Pokemon. If you used a hacked Pokemon, you were immediately fucking disqualified. Now, that's obviously like when you think about it like that, it's like, okay, yeah, you hacked, fine. But it's a lot more complicated than you might think. All these Pokemon were hacked, but they were rules legal, meaning they didn't have any illegal moves, they didn't have higher stats than they were allowed or anything like that. Like they were totally within the rules, but they got disqualified anyway. Meaning that even if you trade for a Pokemon, and it could be totally rules legal, if it is hacked, you can get disqualified, even if you didn't know it was hacked. And trading is such a huge part of Pokemon. Like, it's just having friends that also play the game give you such an advantage. Like, that's how you get a lot of version exclusives. That's how you evolve certain Pokemon. Like, if you accidentally trade for a Pokemon that somebody else hacked in, you can get totally disqualified for that shit. Like, that's crazy. So, to really be competitive at Pokemon, you have to make all your teams totally from scratch without having any fucking resources to help you whatsoever. Like, I just don't have the time. Like, that's so time consuming to go on the game, find all these Pokemon, EV train them, get them the right natures, get them the right moves, do all that shit. Especially, with Terra now, you have to get the fucking Terra shards, you have to do the Terra raids to change their fucking Terra type and all this shit. It's fucking nuts, bro. It's wild. Oh, also, not to mention that if you want to use a Pokemon from like Pokemon Home or, one of the previous games, like say Urshifu, for example, that's from the Sword and Shield DLC. That's the previous generation game, which you have to own, and you have to own the DLC for that. Or if you want to use Ursaluna, that means you have to have Legends Arceus. Like, if you want to compete in Pokemon and have a fair advantage, you have to make all your teams from scratch. You have to own basically every Pokemon game that's ever come out. So then you can have access to an even playing field. This is just to have an even playing field with everybody. Like, Pokemon has a serious fucking problem, and this is why I don't compete in these games. Like, it's fucking nuts. If Pokemon wants to do it this way, they need to make like a Pokemon Showdown like Pokemon Generator within the game. So then all this shit could be avoided, because this is fucking wild, dude. I will never compete in VGC actual tournaments like on cart until all this shit just gets mainstreamed and all this shit gets, streamlined, and it's easier and access for everyone instead of like making it to where you have to have everything. So then, people with more time and more money have access to all the resources. The people that don't have the time and don't have the money just get shitted on and just get shafted. It's not fair. It's bad for a competitive scene. It really sucks. So that's why I make all my content on Showdown. That's why I play on Showdown, because all that shit is so easy on Showdown. And I highly recommend that you do that too, because it's just so much easier. It's just so much easier. I know that was a lot, but that's why I don't compete.